Welcome to the Beats and Balance podcast, a space for conversations at the intersection of creativity, healing, and community. Each week, we sit down with artists, healers, and everyday people to explore stories of transformation, resilience, and the ways we use creativity to survive and thrive.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Beats and Balance podcast. So happy to have you with us. Today, I am joined by Hannah, who is an artist, illustrator, and creative living between worlds. She was born in Uganda, raised in Europe, and carries a name that means carrier of the drum, a symbol of rhythm, transmission, and responsibility. Her work lives in between cultures, colors, bodies, and emotions across painting, digital art, and a return to oil. She explores color as a nonverbal language and creativity as a way to back into the body. Now based in the south of France and navigating life as a single mother, Hannah creates work that values presence over performance, art that listens, holds, and remembers, even when the drum plays softly. In this conversation, we're going to talk about creative survival, color as regulation, ancestry beyond bloodlines, and what it means to keep making, not to produce, but to stay connected. Hannah, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited too.
Of course. So let's just hop right into it. First, you tell the people a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the work that you do.
So I would say on a technical level, I at some point did fashion design. Did an apprenticeship, and then I went to university, like the classical, did my bachelor's, and then decided that I love fashion, but I'm not a designer. I'm more of an artist at heart. I think studying in the design field opened my eyes towards the differences between design and art. So after I finished my studies, basically through fashion illustration, I went into the field of illustration and found my love and my joy and my freedom there, I think.
I love that. My grandfather was a creative and graphic design professor, actually. So I grew up watching him, and I've always been, I can't paint. I can't do any type of anything with my hands, but I'm so amazed by people that have the ability to see something in their mind and put it onto paper, screen, whatever it is. It's the most amazing thing to me.
I love what you just said. Because today, this is funny. I didn't prepare this, but today I got the I don't know if you've seen this before, the Rick Rubin, the creative act, a way of being. And in that, he speaks about how because we are part of the creation, every individual is part of the creation. Therefore, you are part of the creative process. It's not possible for anybody to be alive and not be an artist.
Yeah.
As to, I think in the way it has developed now, we understand the arts as a performing art, someone painting, drawing, making music, playing an instrument, singing, or whatever it is. As to just creating a moment, creating a friendship, creating memories, and anything that we do is creating. So,
I love that. That's actually something that I've been working on in my own personal life, trying to figure out. I think growing up with an artist as a grandfather, it put pressure on me, especially because I have the issues. I can't, my handwriting's terrible, can't color in the lines. And so always had this feeling of oh, well, if it's not perfect, then I might as well not bother. But now recently I got some coloring books and I've been facing that fear. I didn't realize how big of a hang up that was, where I just I don't draw, I don't do anything because I think, oh, you're not good at it. And now I'm just having fun. I don't care if it's in the lines or not, because I feel it brings out creative parts of me in other ways. I'm realizing it's weird, but I'm just making these connections now at 37 years old. And I'm spending my days coloring.
This is finding back to the inner child that is willing to explore and play and therefore be an artist. But I also think it's really, really great that you're doing this now. It's really big to do this and create something for the moment, for the feeling. When I started my university, I had a fantastic illustration teacher, who in our first lesson ordered everyone to throw away our erasers, which caused me to have a middle grand anxiety attack. I've been doing this 6 years prior to that. So I've been drawing and I've always used the eraser. I always was used to be able to kind of, control the mistakes that I'm doing. And then suddenly, I entered this, higher learning space. And there's this professor telling me this is the worst tool that you can use when you want to be an artist. But I think it was one of the best things that he could have done for us. And he also told us, don't use an eraser and never throw anything out. So sit with things, revisit them, look at them at a later point. I think it shifts the way of how we experience what we create. Yeah. I think that's the important thing.
I love that. You saying that just made me laugh because it made me think like, oh, my grandfather must have been on that same wave because after he passed, we found so much of his art. Like I got doodles of his, like he literally threw nothing away. I got a tattoo actually of one of his things that's just like a rough draft drawing of a dragon. And it was so special to me, and sure to him, it was just like, whatever. But like he literally just never threw anything away. It was such a blessing to have all those things, finding them after he passed. Yeah, so
I think this is precisely why I do what I do. And not like you, not only that your grandfather as the person who he was to you is now immortal, but everything the spirit has touched in the lifetime is also immortal just because of this. I think this is precisely the difference between art and design.
Yeah, 100%. It definitely has like, I don't even know. There's a soulness to it, but it definitely is like beyond. Like to him, I'm sure it was just like scrap, whatever. He probably had 50 other ones that he drew. But to me, like that dragon, I'll never throw it away. Like my kids will get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's his energy is still on it. And and his creativity is such like a beautiful thing. So yeah, I'm deeply in my era of like appreciating all of these things I think took for granted as a child. So I was super happy to have you here and talk about these things. Let's jump into a little bit of your background. I know you're from Uganda, raised in Europe, currently in France.
Yes.
We had some correspondences on email, and you talked a little bit about this feeling of like displacement and growing up and not really being sure where you fit in. And that really resonated with me as well. Not to like keep talking about my grandfather, but my grandfather was 6'5" white man. My mom is adopted.
Okay.
And so I definitely like know what that feeling is of being like in between two worlds and growing up with this sense of like, where do I fit in? How do I fit in when I'm with these people? The world is treating me a different whole way. So yeah, I was curious about like what that experience was like for you and how that impacted your work and what you do.
So I think I want to start with that. As like your mother, I'm a transracial adoptee too. I think you mentioned it in my introduction. So I was raised in a predominantly white country environment. I was socialized with these things that seemed to be quite normal, like the feeling of displacement. Constantly lived in a duality of, this is the reality that everybody else also experiences. Like, obviously not everybody is the black person in the white world, but everybody has, at least everybody around me has that one person that's black in their world. So I just assumed that the feelings, the experiences that I have with this are kind of shared. I had a picture book childhood, I would say. So there was, materialistically nothing missing. I enjoyed I had a lot of access to education, all these things. Like it was, a lot of privilege I was able to, enjoy, which I think, if I'm looking back at it now, just put me more and more in a position of, I need to be grateful. Like there are like personality traits that I developed based on the life that I experienced, where sometimes we talk about this in a part of an adoptee group here. I grew up, I think, as most people in the early 90s, mainly watching a lot of, or consuming a lot of African American culture, like just pop culture, music, television, all that kind of stuff. And then with that, obviously, I was introduced to African American culture. So I experienced this as something that I can really connect to, meanwhile, well knowing that this is not my environment. So I assumed that everyone experiences this extreme duality of realities because that was normal to me. Yeah, that's the point that I wanted to make. And then as I'm growing older and I'm assuming having more conversations or expressing myself louder and maybe sometimes a little bit more, when I was 11 years old was the first time I saw Missy Elliott on television. And to this day, I think this is one of the biggest influences, not only into the music that I listen to today, but really who I am today. It was the first time I saw someone being funny and quirky and a woman and kind of sexy, but mainly cool, but cool kind of sexy, but then highly skilled. And again, hilarious. And all of that worked. And I was like, yeah, no, that's me. Like, I understand that there are more of us out there. And I think it was an invitation for exploring really like visually more of the world that is beyond of where I'm physically at in that moment. Yeah. I think that being an Afro-diasporian, wherever you grow up, is always a very unique experience and an extremely shared experience with all of us. Like I meet people from like Black people, brown people from everywhere with all kind of accents. And I live in the south of France. I lived in Germany for a very long time. So they're very different countries, very different cultures. Lived in Los Angeles for some time. I spent some time in Japan. But we're everywhere. And it is always the same. It's always like this. I think the first time I heard this with African American cultures, it's always like this cousin feeling. Like you can walk down the street somewhere in Shibuya and there's a Black person on the other side of the street. And you're like, and it doesn't need anything else. So I think I have the experience of being a transracial adoptee, but also becoming a mother and understanding that, okay, there's one part of who I am is the experience that I have right now. Then there is a part of me, obviously, because I'm a transracial adoptee, and I think this share a lot of Black people in the world. I don't necessarily have a great connection to roots, to my roots, but roots is such a weak word. I would say there are memories that some are in my head, some are in my body, some of the memories I have in my head, I can't explain. I can't explain the places or what I'm remembering right now, but I remember a certain tone of light. Or I had this 3 years back. That was the first time I went back to the African continent, and I was like, let me start easy. I started in the north. So I went to Tunisia and we were invited to a friend's house for dinner. I ended up eating and crying the entire time because there were flavors that I remembered and I had no idea where that is coming from because I have never eaten on the continent. I've never eaten, and it was not even, I'm from Uganda. It wasn't even my place. So I was like, no, there are parts of you that are from the past. You might not be familiar, but they're still parts of you. There are parts of you of the present. You might not fully understand them because there's so many parts of you that are scattered around the world and around history and around different classes and all these stories that Black people come with. And then there are parts of the future. And I think this is part of how, people like how we meet, because there is more and more collectives and just community building within the diaspora where I feel like this is a continuous chapter of who we are as people, of how we individually as the diaspora, I don't know, come together. Now it sounds like we're in church, but
No,
that's
church is cool. I'm not mad at church. No, I think that's cool. I think one of the things, like when I was looking at your Instagram and your art after reading the bio that you had sent me, and I was like, oh, she's from Uganda. She was raised in Europe. And I remember seeing the thing about being an adoptee and looking at your art and seeing how much influenced by like African American culture and different cultures, and just wondering how all that came to be. I had a very similar but like opposite upbringing as you, where my mom was the adoptee, but when you're the daughter of an adoptee, it's like you're in half worlds. You know, half my family is all white, half my family is Black from the same town. So like literally grew up on both sides of the train tracks and trying to like figure out what that means to be like, when I'm in this house, this is how this is how people talk. And when I'm in this house, this is how people talk. And I think for my mom, it was much more difficult because she didn't have that Black side of the family to return to have the balance. But I think one of the things that I realize about that upbringing is that it opens your mind in ways that I realized a lot of my peers, like, they don't look at the world the same way as me, but I was like forced to understand and was thrust into all these different cultures at such a young age that like you become like a chameleon. It's like you gotta like know how to, and that can be detrimental. And there's definitely trauma to unpack there. But in terms of like creativity, and I'm realizing as I get older, like the way my mind works, that like, oh, it's not all bad. Like there are definitely just like cool parts of having that experience. And so I remember like reading your bio and being like, oh, I wonder what that was like for you. And then also like, it's funny to hear you talking about like the impact of Black American culture. When I was very young, my mom brought me to Africa and like her friends were very into like the Afrocentric movement. So my whole childhood was like, you got to learn about Africa. You got to know your roots. I think my mom was particularly drawn to that because of her upbringing and not really knowing her culture. So she like really dug deep into it. And so I was in Gabon at 6 years old. And France, like the first time I went to France.
Shout out, mom.
Was at 6? Yeah, she was in. My mom had me at young, so she was in college doing her like study abroad and brought me with her. So we were out there together. Yeah. Went to Ghana when I was 12 because of one of her friends was working out there. So she really made sure. So it's opposites, like where you were like, I guess like that sense of like community by looking at like Black culture in the 90s and like the TV shows, which back then were great, like Living Single and all that. For me, it was like trying to figure out like my roots outside of the US because it was so different, like Black culture in America versus going to Africa versus being around white people. And somehow having the knowledge that like we're all the same folks, but we're not, you know?
100%.
It's I don't think a lot of people have that in depth of an experience where it's like you firmly know and understand the other side. And so, yeah, I find that fascinating whenever I meet somebody that kind of has that background. And I could see in your art the way that like looking at your art, like it brought me back to like 90s, like hip hop, which is like that's my favorite. That's my favorite thing. Like my first job was a music journalist. And so like it really spoke to me. Yeah. Like, you know, I did an article with somebody that did like a whole Missy Elliott like coloring book. And so that was like way back, like 10 years ago.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine I had that growing up. Oh my God.
Right? So yeah, like everything you're saying really hits. And I just think it's dope to see how the connection, I don't know. We've never met before, we've never spoken before, but I feel like I have an understanding that like, I don't know. It's dope to find that. And I think that is something that is that like cousin community Black feeling that you have where it's just like, I know you've been through some things. Like I know you've been I know you've been through some things. I know what you've had to survive to get to where you're at. And there's just automatic respect there, you know?
Yeah.
All right. So that's just a little sideways because I was just curious. That's on my own thing. But
maybe I would like to mention though, so I think there are a couple of things why African American culture, I feel like, especially when I was growing up in Europe, was so popular. I think there are two things we had. Being African was just not as popular. That was something before I even understood that though. I think the first time I met other Africans in the country I grew up in, I was 17.
Wow.
Like as in face to face. Yes, there would be like Black or brown skinned people, mixed people. I remember some South Americans and things, but meeting Africans from the motherland, barely. Wow. So it was just not familiar to me. And then on top of that, the family that I was raised in, they spent a long time of their life before I was adopted in the States. So they had a lot of connection. So I think that's why were really big on Disney growing up, really big on, like, it's not necessarily that we watched everything, but I was familiar with The Simpsons from I remember the first season. Like, I remember this, things like this. So I think that made it the bridge connected very quickly. And then because I like the music and I went into fashion and streetwear, music, streetwear, fashion is heavily influenced by that too. So I think that's where it was coming from. However, now I would say the trend is more really, especially since we're like all of it, we want to go back. Like, we're looking at land, we're looking at, and I mean, Africa, wherever we're from. I think that's I love African American culture still. I love everything that it gave to me, the certain vibes, certain flavors that I was able to feel like being part of something that made sense to who I am. And obviously, I think that's why I connected with hip hop culture specifically. But at the end of the day, all this is, like, your mother and her friends already very clearly, like, it's going to bring all of us back to Africa anyway. Like, that is where it has begun, So I love African American culture, love hip hop, but in order to love hip hop, I also have to understand, African Bambata. I have to understand certain Fela Kutis. I have to understand these things in order to really, like a person, love it.
No, 100%.
So yeah, no, we're all gonna be going back.
From your lips to God's ears. That's definitely the goal. America is not, especially right anyway. Yeah. All right, so let's hop into the theme of the show, which is creative survival, and like what that means to you and how you've been able to not just survive but kind of thrive, because like, as I think as Black folks, we can get tied down into struggle stories because there's a lot of struggling going on. But I like to highlight that through the transformation of the pain and the suffering and the craziness that we deal with, we're able to create and live beautiful, amazing lives. And I feel like that's not what is always shown or highlighted. So yeah, when we talk about creative survival, really like not just the struggle, but like how do you thrive through that?
This is not in my notes, but the first thing that I think of is the nap ministry. Are you familiar?
Mm-hmm.
I think anybody who's not familiar with the nap ministry, go on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, follow them. Don't ask them for work, but follow them and listen to them. Lay my ass down, rest. I'm trying, and hey, some days are good, some days I'm successful, sometimes I'm not so successful. But allowing myself to rest in a space of ease and just be, like art. Yeah, one of the reasons why I got this tattoo last year, because nobody else has it. No, but I really love the treating myself like a piece of art. This is what I am. This is my life is my greatest artwork. I have this amount of years anyways. I can take my time with the beauty of it. I can take my time with how I'm, planting myself and fertilizing myself and blooming at the end of the day. I think it's very anti-capitalistic, which sometimes makes it difficult because I feel like I'm still, me personally, but the world in general, we're still learning where those feelings really lay, I think, if that makes sense. Like sometimes I'm not sure if it's imposter syndrome or should I be doing more or could I be doing more, or is this just the patriarchy telling me I should do free labor as a woman and capitalism telling me I ain't shit because I have not woken up at 5 o'clock and ran 3 miles and then ate 3 raw eggs or some shit,
I think it's the latter for sure.
So, and regardless of exactly which one it is, at the end of the day, I'm allowed to rest is a birthright, especially for Black people anywhere, Black and brown folks anywhere. This is First Amendment rest.
No, I love that. I love the framing of you are being the art and not just somebody that produces art, because I think that we get stuck in this mode of like our worth is tied to our production. I'm firmly on the team of rest is resistance. Firmly. I think that we all have been sold a lie that we need to be producing and we need to be productive and we need to be making money so that we can spend money and give it to other people. You know, like, they don't want us making money so that we're rich. They want us making money so that we give it to them. And yeah, I'm trying to hop off that wheel. So I definitely fully love the idea of this, like me, myself, my life. That is my greatest work, and not because of what I produce. I think that's a revolutionary thought. Can you share a moment in your life that you kind of were at a lower moment and almost gave up, and like what pulled you through?
I really had to ponder at that one before when I was preparing this, because I was like, oh my God, there's collectively as Black people, does it actually end? Where did it begin? Like, I feel like that being at the verge of, I can't take it anymore. And let's be honest, not just for Black people, but in 2026, I feel like this is an everyday situation we collectively experience with the state of the world, the state of the economy, the way that politicians are not doing their job, the way that you see, like, now I'm thinking about Miss Rachel and how this woman is doing so much more than, like, it just is, there's so many things where I'm like, that's not right. But one of the things one of my best friends says to me all the time, today we fall apart. That's okay. I don't think that it is part of what capitalism has sold us. Like, I will break, and sometimes it happens, and that's not, I'm human. And I have to let myself do that. Like, if I'm treating myself as a piece of art, I will make mistakes. I will put strokes on that canvas that I immediately regret, you know? But now what do I do with it? How do I figure out how to get over it, or how to, you know, draw around it? Or will I just learn how to love it? Like,
No
I
erasers.
think,
Yeah, that's cool.
exactly. And sometimes it looks like overcoming looks like taking a nap. Sometimes it looks like getting my nails done. Sometimes I just do nothing and I stare at the wall, you know, or I write poetry. I like meditation. I think grounding exercises are a big part of, you know, guiding myself back to the humanness of me. So slowness in survival, I think that's the key. Yeah.
I know you also mentioned having 2 sons and being a single mother. So I know that, like, that's another whole aspect. I was raised by a single mother. I don't have any kids myself, but I know what it's like to be on the other side of that.
Smart girl. Yeah. I love my kids, but smart girl.
Well, you know, I had that experience. So I was like, oh no, it's not going to be me. I love my mama, but nah. We had a struggle growing up. And so, yeah, I have deep respect though for people, because I look at my mom had me at 17, and I look at my life now and I'm like, wow. I'm 37. I was well into my 20s when my mom was like, I was like 20 when my mom was 37. And if I if I had a 20-year-old right now, like, God, I don't even know what that would look like. I don't know if I would be here. Like, I don't know that I could do that. It's work beyond work. And trying to like maintain yourself while also raising others in the world that we're in, which is feeling like it's quickly falling apart. Although, as somebody that studies history, I'm like constantly trying to remind myself that life is cyclical, and we've been here, like, you know, we done made it through slavery. Yeah. We done made it through some things. So I'm trying to keep that in mind. But it is hard to turn on the news. And like you mentioned, like Miss Rachel, like, you know, you can't even be a kids performer now without like it getting politicized. And yeah, it feels real rough to be where we're at. So what's something that like keeps you going? How do you maintain, I guess not, I don't know if it's faith or hope or whatever it is that like allows you to, I guess, put on the mommy face and be like, all right, kids, like, this is how you survive the world, or like, this is the bubble that we're going to survive in. Like, I don't even know what that looks like.
I have Give me a second. We have to cut this off because but I have to show you one thing that I do with my kids. And I actually got this because my oldest son, this is really disgusting. I'm sorry, but this is a kid's pillow. So my oldest son is on the autistic spectrum, which put me on the journey of discovering my own neurodivergencies, neurospiciness, which I love because I just feel like that is part of the world that we live in today. I am very, very happy that I'm neurodivergent and not neurotypical because I feel like it's just winning. I don't know. I don't want to be any other way.
No, it's real. I look at it as evolution.
That's why I get spiritual. And I feel like in the last couple of years, I've distanced myself from church as an institution. I used to do a lot. I was leading a ministry in church for a long time. I was raised in church. I have a adoptive father who used to preach in church. So, and that was like part of that family too. So, I did all these things, had my baptism at 17, blah, 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 and things like this. I feel like the longer I am away from the building, the closer I'm getting to, or the closer my spiritual relationship actually grows, like the stronger it grows. I think two things that I'm teaching my children. So I wanted to show you this. Is a pillow and it says all feelings are okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I need that. I'm neurodivergent. I know the feelings will well.
And I got this for my son because he's still mainly nonverbal, and I wanted to understand what he's saying. But this is why it looks like this, because we scream in this pillow, like we box in it, and sometimes we squeeze it when we're happy, something that I was definitely not raised in, really express all the feelings. Feelings are not good or bad. They're just there and they're part of you. And then after we figure out if it's a feeling that harms you or if it's a feeling that would harm others, how can we, not make it a terrible situation. I think that's one part. And the other part is really, like I said, I get quite, I don't want to say religious, but spiritual. I do believe in the Bible. I do also I started reading the Quran recently. I think it's, I'm not, specified on one. I also do believe that we all believe in the same God. So I was like, chill out, everybody. However,
the Quran is the exact same thing as the Bible for the first 2/3, literally verbatim.
You just have different prophets. And one thing that I keep thinking about is actually we have to remember that none of these prophets were part of the Christian, part of the religious boxes that we built. Jesus was not a Christian. Yeah. Muhammad was, he was not a Muslim. These were people that spoke to people about certain things. And that's where a lot of times, I think about Miss Rachel, I'm like, it's very easy to be Jesus-like. Why is it so difficult for a lot of people out here to be different? It's a lot of these people that read the Bible, write the Bible, are part of this world. So but there's this moment in the Bible, the resurrection story. We talk about this. We know about this, where I truly believe that there is light and shadow in the world. There is, a war that might not be visible to our eyes. Even if if you're not part of a religion, if you're not Muslim or not Christian or whatever, you're not Jewish. Everybody knows that there's more in this world that meets the eyes. There are good spirits and bad spirits, good energies, and negative. There's, energies that steal and energies that give. And I feel like that is very clear right now, in the climate that we're living in. And I feel like as a neurodivergent person, that is one of the best superpowers we can have, because I cannot, growing up, I was made fun of a lot in my own family, basically. There was this running gag where they would say, Hannah wants to save the whole world. Hannah wants to save the whole world. And in my head, even as a child, I'm like, even if I wanted to, which is not the case, but why is that a bad thing? I could really not understand why someone says that and then thinks that you're hurting me with that. I'm like, that's a great thing. What do you mean? Yeah. So walking through the world that we are in right now, walking through this realm or reality or whatever, this level of humanity, I'm like, first of all, nothing is real. Money is made up. And we have to come back to connecting. And that's really where I think freedom lies and, true connection. Yeah.
I love that. I think that was a testimony I needed. This is the same things that go through my head. And it's like you have to constantly kind of remind yourself, I think, because like in the physical, things feel heavy, things look terrible, and it can be very easy to sink, I think, into the anger and despair, especially when you are somebody, and I feel like neurodivergent people that I've come across with share this same thing where we're able to kind of zoom out and zoom in. And when you're zoomed out, you're just like, why can't everybody see that this is all bullshit? You mean like this is all just made up bullshit? Like there's no reason that any of us need to be fighting at all. And especially when you come from, I think, a background where you are deeply around, and I don't mean just like, I have friends that grew up with white friends, but when you have family members that are different from you, you realize quickly that there is no difference. Like humans are humans. Like I would have friends that would be, they would have this kind of like weird awe when they would meet like my white side of the family, as if they were meeting like a different species. And I think a lot of that has to do with like white supremacy and in that making that gap where you feel like, oh, this is, and I would just look like, why, you know what I mean? Like, why? And then I would see the way that I would be treated with my white family versus my black family. And, like my grandfather being a professor, very tall white man, automatically people treated him with a certain amount of respect, even though he was a really hippie, chill, like didn't give a fuck kind of dude. But my great grandmother, who had a 5th grade education, who to me is the smartest person I've ever met in my life, and my grandfather would deflect to her as well. Like he would say the same thing, had so much life wisdom, and the way people would follow her around the world, like growing up as a little kid and being very aware and seeing these things, it's hard. It's hard to look at people because you want to just shake them and be like, yo, like what is wrong with you? Like the differences between us are not real. And I think you're right. Like I think it is a very spiritual thing. I kind of try to remind myself of like the way nature has its cycles of like burning in order to get kind of the renewed soil that you need for life. And I feel like that's the period that we're in now, is like everything is burning, but it's burning, I think, for a purpose. I think everything is being made super apparent so that everybody can like equally look around and be like, yeah, we've been living wrong. Like our whole society is just wrong. But I feel like for that awareness to come about, like things have to get really bad. People have to get really uncomfortable. And so, yeah, like I'm with you in that. I'm like this, my light at the end of the tunnel is like, there's something deeper going on here. There are more entities involved than meet the eye. There's a bigger plan in place. And I really do think that what's happening now is happening for the eventual greater good. But for me, it's just like, how do we survive where we're at now? And how long is it going to be like this for? Because life is feeling rough.
But don't you see, this is one of the things that I love about African American culture. That's something that I like. For example, the first time hearing and understanding what a gospel is, I was like, wait, why would you sing? Why would you, like, I was confused about the imagination of me, of someone being torn down, humiliated, all these things, and then this is what comes out of it. Like, I didn't understand it. And it's both. Yeah, I'm completely where you are. Like, there is some days, some moments where I was like, I literally, I can't take it anymore. Two things. I don't watch the news at all. And there's this function, at least for Instagram, where you can have certain hashtags that are completely hidden. Like there are certain things that I refuse to consume. I consume minimal news about official politics because I don't think that it's a reliable source. No,
100% propaganda.
Like, show me a TikTok video and I believe what they're saying. Yeah. But exactly everything else, like, so I don't really feel like, and that's what I mean also for us neurodivergent, I think it's very easy to choose and to be like, you know what, if this is the reality you're giving to me, now I'm going to decide in how I'm going to take it, the filter that I'm going to take it. And like, I don't abide to this social rules where I feel, again, I don't feel bad for thinking that one day I'm going to save the whole world. Do I really, really believe that? I mean, in my heart, yes. In my head, I know I'm not, I'm not super, but I aspire. And however that looks like right now, for me, it looks like colorful pictures. For you, it looks like having a podcast, talking about things, where, like, what is saving the world really mean? It, like, to me too. And I feel like that's there would be no gospel without slavery. And I'm not saying that slavery is great, but with everything that we experience on this planet, everything, again, I have 2 sons. There are growing pains. I can see it. It's uncomfortable. They don't like it. And it's hard for me to explain to a 2-year-old or to a 6-month-old why their teeth shooting out your gum. And this is why you're hurting. We just have to sit here and you have to wait through it. But once we're done with this, once you're done, trust me, the things you're going to eat, you're going to like it. So I see it, the pain that I feel sometimes in the world is part of this experience right now, but it's life. That's the human experience. And yeah, there's so many. I can't have a rainbow without rain. Like, I need the rain for the garden to be fertilized so that there can something, I think, yeah.
Yeah, no,
So,
that's real. I think that's very
but
real.
I also think that this is where art is such a wonderful thing to have and to experience and to sit in and be able to, like you said in the beginning, go away from the it has to be good versus this is something in this moment that does something for me, or that gives me some sort of comfort, or like, again, I don't think anger is a bad thing. I am angry because this shit is fucking ridiculous. Again, politics. I see what is happening in the United States, and I know about German history. I've seen it. I've learned it in school. We went to different concentration camps when I was a teenager. We were walking around there. We were looking at it. Yeah. So some of the things I'm seeing right now, even in Europe, like this, not just like globally, where I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, literally, are you?
Yeah.
We're doing the exact same things. We're just continuing to do. Sometimes I feel like I don't really believe in God as in someone that sits in the clouds, but I feel like if there is a God, he would look like the Ben Affleck meme where he's smoking a cigarette outside right now. Every time I hear some I hear this deep side of this person that's just tired of it all. And I hear from a kitchen, Jesus yelling, you can just flood it again. And it's like, no, not this time. I said, I'm not going to do it again. And he's just taking a deep drag on his cigarettes. It's like, you guys are fucking idiots.
I can feel that in my soul. So
right.
I think that's real. Yeah. I think that is what, that is what art is, at least to me, or like the most foundational part of art. And then maybe it's because I grew up as a Black person in this country where you're constantly have to transmute your pain into art. Like, that's hip hop, that's all these different things. So yeah, I think that it all ties in.
Quick thank you to our listeners. We partnered with Mantra Matcha and Severista Coffee to give you exclusive discounts. Clean, steady matcha energy and smooth, low-caffeine coffee, no jitters. Use code BALANCE.
We're as Black people in the diaspora, we've not all directly have this, my grandparents have not been slaves. I have, but the reason why I'm here is it is a result of what happened. It is a result of
imperialism, colonialism. The continent has been destroyed. It's all the same. In my opinion, we're all under the same colonial thumb, and we've all been brainwashed and stripped of our culture and our beliefs. and I think less so in Africa, where you still have, you know, knowledge shared through word and your families and things like that. It is a bit different to be African American and have kind of more of that separation. But I still, you know, I think that everywhere in the diaspora, we all have that same shared pain of like something has been robbed from us in just different degrees of how much has been robbed. But no Black person or anybody of color on this continent or on this planet has escaped, unless you're like, you know, one of those tribes that are still uncontacted. You've not escaped the reaches of colonialism or imperialism.
Yeah,
it's not possible.
Also, I might add on no side, I think it's really funny how, at least for me, growing up in a predominantly white environment, I'm like, you guys have a negative impact of it too. Mm-hmm. I just want, like, it's just not as popular to, you know, to admit or something. I'm like, but no human is benefiting from this situation.
No, only the billionaires. Yeah. It's not, you know, the race thing to me is a distraction. It's not really about race, or else there would be no poor white people. I grew up around a ton of poor white people in upstate New York. They don't care about them. You know what I mean? Like, Elon Musk doesn't care about them. It's not about whiteness. It's about money and control.
No, it's the same here.
Yeah.
That's again, Ben Affleck meme.
Yeah. No, but that's what I mean. But like, I can zoom all the way out and look at this shit, and I'm looking at, you know, Bobby Joe Trump supporter, and I'm like, dude, you're voting against your own interests. And it's like, you don't even see it. Like, you're so caught up in the othering of others that you don't even see that you're fucking yourself over. And that's what I mean by the anger overtakes me, because I get into these moments where I'm just like, why am I down here? What am I on this planet for? Because I don't want to be dealing with this shit. But I think there's a reason. I think there's a reason we're all here, and I think we all have something to contribute.
Absolutely. Even just like, not saying that your life reason and my life reason is this moment, but I do think moments like this is the very reason for that. We, with all the pain and with all the Jidenna says this in his album, what is it, Route to 64? There is like a skit, or it's an interlude, I don't remember, but he talks about waking up at his house somewhere that he bought. I'm not sure if it was Hollywood, I think somewhere in the United States, but he wakes up, has to move out or something, got evicted, and talks about how he feels after having this big success and still being another nigga displaced. Mm-hmm. That is the wording. And it echoes in my brain the way that he said it. He's conventionally beautiful. He's marketable. He's famous. All of these. And still, it's not enough. It will never be enough. No. And I think that also, living in this pain, it also comes with a liberation. Like, that other people don't have. I am not as chained as, I'm assuming, a Trump supporter of color. Like, do you, boo? Like, if you want to do that. I grew up on Nicki Minaj. I'm so sad right now. I'm so sad. I'm sorry I have to say that. I'm like, this way, like, I'm looking at this, like, it's not even Ben Affleck anymore. It's just like, it's like a, I don't know, a very terrible accident. And you just can't look away, but you know, it's not. Yeah. But it's just this. Then you stay there because this is a prison that you've chosen to continuously entertain. That's not me. It's not you, you know? And I think I'm rather gonna be remembered like this and be on the right side of history, whatever that means for my little life, than staying in a prison that is, you know, it makes no sense. Yeah. And these people generally don't look great, I feel like. If you're a terrible person, it will show.
Oh no, look at these people. All these billionaires, man. They look like straight up, I don't even know.
Can we take a second to talk about why this is something that I also, the richer you are, the less you spend on haircuts, the less you spend. I'm not saying that you have to, you know, splurge on yourself or something, but if you're super rich, you just like really don't give a fuck, I guess. I think
they don't. I think they lose their soul. Like, I think it is spiritual, and I think what you see is like a soul decay. And it's like these people, they don't even look human anymore. Nicki Minaj, I think, is an example of like skin color does not necessarily mean your energy is right. And I think that like I think it's an example of somebody that's let their demons overtake them, like not to be too woo-woo with it, but it's like you got to make a choice. And if you choose to go with darkness, then it doesn't matter what color you are, you're gonna end up like look how Nicki Minaj is aging, and that whole black don't crack thing, like that's a real thing. Like, but when you see people's energy start getting deformed,
she just looks like it just looks like a mask. It looks like a constant, stagnant. I don't know. And I mean, we have these people here too, like in politics, in the entertainment industry, everywhere. But that's what I mean. That's why I'd rather have the pain with living on the right side of history than that. Because even from a distance, that shit scares me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I had conversation. We had a group chat about this when Prince Charles died, like the former prince of, I remember this was on the news and we were all like, I'm like, why is no one looking at how this person looks like
a straight, like the crypt keeper, like.
You look like your soul died 129 years ago and you're like.
I think that is what it is, though. I'm telling you. I don't think you can have, I think you got to have a choice. I don't think you can be ruthless and all about money. And if you're a billionaire, unless you've just straight up inherited it, you've gotten your money through exploitation. And I think all of those things take a toll on your soul. And I think what you were saying before really resonated with me, because I think what we're witnessing now really is like a spiritual warfare. And it's being made very clear because you see how these people look, you see how their energy looks, like it's palpable. Nicki Minaj looks crazy. Like she, like her energy, you can see it on her, like she doesn't look like a real person anymore. Donald Trump looks crazy. Mitch McConnell looks crazy. Like who in their right mind would say, I want to grow up and be this dude? Like if you didn't know he had any money, if you saw all these, Elon Musk, fucking Mark Zuckerberg looks like a lizard. Like if you saw these people on the street and had no idea who they were, you would never be like, oh, that's who I want to be like. That's who I want to be. You would think they were homeless dudes. Like
this is the type of man, especially men, I would see on the street and turn up my music and be like, don't look at I don't have any change. Don't talk to me. I don't know the direction. Like this, like, no, yeah.
I'll be poor and have my soul, but I refuse to end up like that. Like that is not a goal, I think, for anybody. But I think it is something that, like, if you're spiritually inclined and you're paying attention, I think it is a good way to have discernment and be like, oh, like I can see from here that something is not right with your energy. And I think that's like, I don't know, not to bring it back to art. I think another part of that is like this whole AI push. And like the thing that scares me about that is that it's like, I feel like they're trying to suck the soul out of art. And I think that is entwined with politics. I think artists are the people that generally are able to see things differently and who are usually the ones that are willing to speak out and have the platform to speak out. And I think that the powers that be do not like that. And so for me, the whole AI thing is much more scary than just like, oh, this video looks crappy, or even like the deep fake thing. I think it's really like people are trying to erase soul from the world is what it feels like. And they just want, they want us to be a slave class of machines that are just producing and consuming. And that's not what I believe that we're on this earth for. I think we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And I think that's why it's soul crushing, because on a deep soul level, something in me is like, oh, this is wrong. You know what I mean? Like on a soul level, it's like, this is not how this is supposed to be working. And so, yeah, when I start, like, I also try to avoid politics as much as possible, but it's not super easy right now in the States, because as soon as you walk outside, it's like there's ice. But yeah, I think all the things we talked about are super interconnected. And that's why I think having this platform is important, because the people I think that are going to change the world are us, like people that care, people that are putting out art, people that are doing things from their soul, people that are living authentically. Even if you have even if you're not into politics or you're not paying attention to politics, if you are living authentically, like that in of itself is revolutionary. And so, yeah, that's the only little bit of hope I have moving forward. Because if I had kids, I might have more. You know what I mean? Like, I might have something more to be like, I need to have. But I just be here by myself, looking at the world like, fuck, I don't. Why do I gotta be here? Like, I don't have anything holding. I don't have anything tying me down. But
yes, you do. Stop. And then we're not even sharing life. Like, you don't have to have kids. Like, you were here for the people around you, first of all. Like, that whether or not you like or agree or see or not just you, but I think in general, I think it's just easier to see that with kids.
Yeah.
Like, because it's my responsibility. Duh. I'm not gonna, oh, wow, I have to do this now. Like, obviously I have to do this now. So we're already in this together. But with this, I'm especially because my son is on the spectrum. My oldest son is on the spectrum. I'm not sure what's doper, like me being a mother to him or him being a son to me, because him being a son to me has changed everything about how I see the world. And just this, the beauty of neurodivergence, seeing him trying to force me to learn the Russian alphabet with him. Meanwhile, you still don't say a full sentence to me when you want chocolate, but I understand everything and understand why you do it. I understand that this is fun and that it's not about the words or not like this is how you experience it. I think what you just said about, AI, I want to get into AI real quick because I actually love it. I love the fact that AI, especially for the arts, exists the way that it does right now. Because again, like we're in this spiritual welfare right now, it just makes it very clear what's happening. And maybe that's my own autism in my brain. I can take it serious in that way. Like what I do take serious is that we're about to have a shortage of water, which is something that I'm like, again, insert Ben Affleck meme, like, what the actual fuck? What are we doing?
Yeah.
However, and this is why I love art so much, how you wanna take away the soul of something that is actually a source of such? That's impossible.
Yeah.
It is impossible, and it will always be impossible for a machine to be creative. AI will only be able and always only be able to do as much as we teach it to, even if that includes, now think about The Incredibles. There's this robot at the end that learns how to, like, sorry. But even if we find ways of making AI smarter and whatever it is, it's still not art. It doesn't have a soul. It didn't process anything. It collected millions and millions of information and put them together in a menu that I've told it to, however that looks like. But AI is not, I think sometimes I'm guilty. I use ChatGPT. I love it because it functions sometimes like an assistant to my life. Is it going to be how do you say that? A replacement of my brain? Of course not. Of course not. Yeah. It's not. It never will be. And there is no one, like, and I think this is where we have to really pay attention. Yes, AI, like, leave artists alone. Obviously, I'm a traditional trained artist. Leave the work alone. Like, be respectful towards this. But we had this in the arts and in entertainment for so long, the stealing, the mass reproduction of artworks or other things. I'm like, this is really not a new aspect. Like, again, this is part of the war between light and darkness, good and bad, or whatever. Does that mean that darkness and AI and machines are going to win? Fuck no, I don't think so. This is still a human experience of life.
No, I agree.
There will never be a machine. That's why I'm not really scared. And if you look at some of the AI art things are great. Like I follow this account that creates a lot of anime and recreates it, and I enjoy seeing it because I haven't grown up with having these type of visuals. So there are aspects of it that I really, really love. does it have the same value and weight in my life like an artist that I think about David LaChapelle as a photographer I discovered when I was, again, hip hop culture and all of this, when I was in university. I will never forget the feeling of this, of seeing his work, of the way that he uses blue and the way that he uses yellow in photography and creating worlds. Like, even if he would have created that with AR, that is because he's David LaChapelle. The reason why we love Van Gogh is because it's a Van Gogh stroke. And there's even the stroke itself, it was replicated, it was copied. We have, painting courses to learn how to draw like your favorite artist. That is still not the artist's work. The reason why it resonates was because this person did at a specific time created something that then had a message. I can have so many versions of the Starry Night today that are fantastic. I have an ashtray with the Starry Night, and there's whatever. I have an ashtray with the creation of Adam, the Michelangelo, with 2 joints. I love it. It's fantastic. These artists don't resonate with me because they're not really in my time. I understand the skill, but this is not my time. And I feel like AI is just that. It's just a filter through which we can now see art and reproduce something. Is it the actual piece of art? Fuck no.
Yeah, no. I agree with you in the sense of using AI as a tool, right? Like, I have no issue. And I think that technology and progress, great. I think we should continue. My issue is in whose hands, like in your hands. I trust it. In Donald Trump's hands, in Elon Musk's hands, you know what I mean? In the hands of.
But doesn't it go for everything?
No, yeah. But I think when I want to just when I mention the fear of AI, it's not. I have no qualms with artists using AI as a tool. I don't think that's any different than computer generated animation and things. Like, I think that it makes sense to have tools to help you, and you're still the art is still coming from you and your soul. My issue is when I hear on other podcasts them talking about AGI as a way to eliminate workforces, as a way to build wealth and then forget about everybody else. You know what I mean? It's like the upper class are trying to create a world of their own where it's like here we are in our bubble of wealth and let the rest of you all suffer and die and be our slaves. And that is the fear that I have, because in the US, at least, what we have it paired with is a attack on our education system, right? So with the lack of education, there's not the same context of these kids aren't going into like, oh yeah, AI is just a tool and I know Van Gogh. They're not going to know who Van Gogh is. They're not going to know. They don't want these kids to have any education at all. They want them that the AI literally becomes their brain, and they're not learning anything in school. They become reliant on these tools, and then they spend the rest of their lives working at Walmarts and being a cashier and never. And to me, like the pain of that, because that's half of my, I grew up half my family is very not wealthy. So like I come from a very small hometown upstate New York. Majority of my family members, they work at Walmart, they work cashiers. And then it's like going back and seeing the privileges that I've been able to have, and knowing that they have just as much potential to do everything that I could do, but they're stuck in this world that they have no idea that is being put onto them, and they can't see out of that. That's where the whole AI thing gets scary for me, because I see how the forces that be use structures that we have to keep people imprisoned in their own mind, imprisoned in their way of life, and they never get to express their creativity. They never get to live their human dream. So that's what I mean. Like for like artists using AI, like no big deal. My worry is more on the overarching impacts of greater society, and what that looks like for little Black kids that already have no education and no access to art, no access to music, no access to anything. And then Timberland is like, here's Japanese art, and like that becomes what music is, and like, you know what I mean? Like that's the stuff that like that's what freaks me out about it. But yeah, in terms of using AI as a tool, I think that's no problem.
Again, that something that I saw a couple weeks ago. I missed that. I didn't know that this AI artist is out for a while. Something that deeply disappointed me. Like those are moments then I get really sad because I'm like,
Weird.
what are you doing? You're the reason. There's an entire way of you Timberland. What are you doing? Like I was so irritated by all of this, and this might sound really, really cruel and terrible. And I know not everybody has the same access to, but that is part of the human experience. I wholeheartedly believe. I have to be okay with the fact that something like that, someone who once used to be one of the biggest inspiration of creativity and freedom for me is now the exact opposites.
Mm-hmm.
That is part of life. And I think that's why I'm so happy that I'm neurodivergent and an artist and that I get to do this as my job, because I think this is one of the biggest tickets for me to be able to, like, I don't have to participate in your world. I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that it is part of what this is what it is here. And I'm not going to be able to, like me as a child, I'm not going to be able to save the world. I know this.
No, for sure. But I think you are. I think, like you said, small. It's the changing of the world to me is individual revolution. So it's like each person has to have their own individual revolution, and that's how the world changes. It's not going to be one charismatic leader that's going to, that's how we got Hitler. That's never going to work. You look at the Panthers.
And he was a great artist too.
He was, but like, you know what I mean? And I just watched the Hitler documentary yesterday, and I'm sitting here like, this is the world we're living in all over again. But anyway, it doesn't work when you have a leader that is based on ego, or when your whole movement is based on somebody's ego. It's never going to be something that is for the greater good of all. I really firmly think it has to be individual.
Isn't that directly? I kind of want to. Sorry, what we talked about in the beginning, how you right now rediscovering the way that you do art and you're drawing, and you're not putting yourself under the pressure of having to produce something. Like that is that life experience, like the experience that we have here in life. Like we're gonna cry, I'm gonna break, I'm gonna be angry. Now what do I do with it? And that's where art is such a beautiful thing. Like for some people, that means I go outside. I watched this video about skaters in Eritrea yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm like, I love, like, there's this hijab soccer girls. I love them. And then there are these like African skater girls. I'm like, I'm in love. Like you can see the joy in this moment. That is revolution. That is, being an artist, creating something that is bigger than what we experience. And I don't have to know how to play soccer. I don't have to know how to record a podcast to be part of these moments, so with all the pain and all the anger we have right now, I also, it sounds so crazy, but I also think this is such an amazing time. It's so exciting. The more darkness we see, the more shadow there is. That means there is a huge source of light, and it can't be that far.
I believe that. Yeah.
So I just try to focus on that, and I think art is the way to go when it comes to that.
I appreciate that. The worldview. I do believe that. I think for me, in the space of life I'm in right now, everything is feeling dark and gloomy. But I'm trying to get back to that. Like the things you're saying are the things I say to myself to try to get myself out of those moments of being like, God damn. Because I do believe that everything that's happening now is happening for a reason. And I do think that better things are to come. And I think, and I hope, because I think that it'll be a waste of everything that's happening now. Like I think the reason that things are happening is so that people will wake up and make a firm decision that we don't want to live like this anymore. We can do better as a race of humans. And we could create a society where everybody can live a life where they're able to be free and be creative and access whatever it is that they want to access in their own life path. But yeah, and I think art is how you get there. I think like people like you that are producing beautiful things amidst sometimes the very ugliness of the reality of the world that we live in. I think those are the things that inspire hope and then keep people moving forward. So definitely appreciate that.
I have, maybe to what you were just saying, I just wanted to add something. I have one of the pieces that I created 5 years back. She's called the Cowrie Queen. It's you can see it on my profile. Everyone who wants to check.
Like that one.
Draw me close.
Profile picture one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is something that I created after a huge loss in my life. Just, transracial adoption, there is a lot of loss that you carry with. And there was a significant year where I would say 90% of my support system just disappeared within the span of a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember feeling small and feeling like the darkness, it's suffocating me, and it's a blanket that I don't seem how to get out of. It just keeps going and going. And I remember thinking that I need something beautiful. I need beauty. I need something like the first beam of light at the dawn of the day. It's not necessarily something that is specific. It doesn't show, like, it doesn't light up an entire street. It might just reveal some shapes or, like, outlines of wherever I'm standing, but I feel like it's the promise of what is about to come. And I feel like a lot of times when it comes to these situations, when we sit in these dark rooms and the darkness is too heavy and we're starting to feel like we can't breathe anymore, grief can function as a connection. And not just necessarily as an end of something. So I think what the Cowrie Queen did to me was turning that. Yeah, like I said, the difference between light and darkness. Now I'm sitting in the dark, but if I have a single light and I ignite that, now everything becomes shape. That
Yeah. No, I love that.
So yeah, I think it's difficult right now, and sometimes even making art is painful right now. Not only for the two of us. I see other artists who do incredible things are basically just this is what I also use that's my news. Other artists, like what other people create, visual artists, musicians, and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of anger. But it's also powerful, and it helps me. It gives back energy into me. So grief it can be something beautiful.
No, yeah.
And I remind myself to sit in that while I'm in the darkness.
I love that. This is how this whole podcast came about. Like, it started because my wife passed, and I was in...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was in such a dark... My wife passed like 2 days before Trump was elected president. And it was just like... my wife just passed, and it's like, and then the world felt like it was ending. And so this podcast really came about also through going through with my wife passing. I lost a lot of friends and family that I just stopped talking to because the way people were showing up. So I found myself in a situation where I was in a new city by myself, completely alone, no friends, no family, no nothing. And I think in those moments of despair, it was like, all right, you got two options. Like, you end this, and we out. But I had a dog that my wife had gotten me literally right before she died. And I think that was definitely on purpose. Like, she didn't know, but that's what has kept me alive. And so I was like, all right, well, if I'm not fucking with anybody in my past, I know that I can't go backwards. I got to go forwards. Let's meet new people. And I never in my life would have thought that I'd start a podcast, but I was really in such a space of isolation that I was like, there has to be somebody out there. There has to be something out there that resonates or that feels like there's a connection. And I opened it up and put out just a random call. And pretty much every single person that answered that call has been in some way or another on some type of aligned wave, or said something in our conversation that made me feel like, all right, like, this is why I'm here, or like, oh yeah, this is why life is still worth it. You know what I mean? Like, this right here, this was my, like, my, we're not going down the dark road, so we got to make some type of pivot because we can't just stay here. And that's how we got here. And I do 100% believe. And I'm somebody that's dealt with much grief. Like, everybody that I love is now dead. Everybody. There's not a single person alive that I have a connection with.
You. Huh? I can say that. I don't know much about you and the people around you, but you are still alive.
Yeah.
We love ourselves, right?
Yeah. But that's what I'm like, that's what I mean, like, coming from that space of, like, it was like one death after another, after another, after another, after another. for like 10 years. And it got to the point of like, all right, so now why am I still here? You know what I mean? Like all these, and they like great people that like, my wife was an amazing person. And it was like, if she, you know what I mean? If she's not here to contribute, why am I still here? And so it really put me in a crazy fucked up place. But I think, as you said, like once you hit your rock bottom, you realize that there's nowhere else to go but up, and the light kind of, whatever small light you can hold, like it started with my dog and going on those dog walks. And then, but yeah, I just like what you said about grief.
I just wanted to say that real quick, and I don't want to overstep, so please allow me to, but I do think that some of the reasons, like loss is always connected with a greater calling. I wholeheartedly believe this. The reason why I'm adopted is because my biological mother died of cholera right after the birth. At least that's the story that I know. So there was something taken to me within the first days of my life. I don't remember this. I don't remember her. I don't remember her smell, at least from what I know right now. But I do feel like that is the reason why I am who I am. And that's the reason why connecting with other people, especially understanding grief and being able to really have a conversation with, and I know you have this too, when there are people around you now and there's loss around you, the way that you can react to it, the way that it allows you to be a moment of ease, maybe not to you inside, but I think to everyone else around you, absolutely 100%, because you carry something that others might is still foreign. And, I think when we live with so much loss and so much pain, again, we can put this on Black people in general, again, there is a softness and there's a warmth that grows with that is a superpower. And I'm not saying that all of these things should have happened to you, but I definitely think that what will come out of it is greater than the loss that you feel. That's
what I'm betting on.
I'm
looking at God like, you better make that big one happen, because I've been through some shit. But no, everything I've been through has helped me on the next step of my journey. I met my wife right after my uncle died of an overdose, and like everything aligns in a way that made sense. So like I 100% see that and believe that. I just think when you're in the moment dealing with the grief, it can be hard. But like you said, if you find that one little piece of light, you just keep following it until you find something bigger.
And sometimes it's even enough to remember light. Sometimes you don't even need the light. Sometimes all you need is the memory of it.
Yeah.
And I want to, because now I really have to go, but before I do this and I run away, just the fact that we met today, I'm so grateful for this conversation. And I think there's so many things that you said that really resonated with me. And this type of platform I was really eager to be able to talk to you. And if that is a seed of the grief that you felt, I'm not saying that I'm grateful that you have to experience that, but I'm very, very grateful in the way that you're growing with it, because I don't know how everybody else was. I saw some of the videos, so I'm assuming this is a collective feeling, but this is wonderful. So the garden that you're building is beautiful. I love it.
Thank you so much for being on here. Thank you for the art that you produce and share with the world. And also, just one last thing. Do you have anything coming up or anything you want to share with people or tell them how to view your work?
I do, actually, now that you say that. I'm going to release some sort of color meditation in about a month. Okay. Hopefully. That's my ADHD brain. The ADHD side says in a month. My autistic side says, Anyway, so basically what I'm working on right now is, I love color meditation, just generally speaking. So it's going to be it's going to be a guide, 30 days of color meditation, every shade a sanctuary. That's the name of it. And it basically includes certain grounding techniques and things like this. Like there's a practical part, but we're going to look at colors for each day, different shades, and kind of go into the world of colors and energy, and how I can basically, if I'm, like in marketing or whatever, if I can receive a certain message because of a certain color, I can also harvest certain energies from certain colors, and then looking at this from different perspectives throughout, history, cultures, religion, all these different things where color do come into play. Or we talked about grief a lot in this episode, like looking at grief, the color of grief in different cultures, I think is a super interesting aspect. So I think with this spiritual warfare that's going on right now, and the war between light and darkness kind of right now, awareness is one of the big tools and the big weapons that we can use today. And I think being aware of the energies of my surrounding, my environment, is one way to start. And it did help me specifically, personally. I did a lot of color meditation in my pregnancies and things like this. It's just a wonderful thing to be able to, pull from. So I will be sharing a little bit more soon. Once it's done, I can send you a link and then you can share it with your people. And that's what I'm working on.
Yes, definitely do that. We will spread the word. That sounds very aligned with what we do. So I'm sure people will love that. Definitely let me know. We'll put it out, and we'll definitely have your episode out before then. So
cool. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll have your website and your socials down so people can check out your work and connect with you. And again, just thank you so much for being on here, being honest and open and vulnerable with a complete stranger. I appreciate that. And to everybody listening, thank you so much. We're going to be back again next Thursday. Yeah.
Hey,
thank you.
Thank you.
Our vibes stay sacred. Our roots run deep.